Hey friends, what is going on? First off, thank you so much for coming by and stopping. What? Brother. First off, I'm so grateful that you're here. Thank you for being here. You could have done literally anything else with your day, and yet you're here. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about 3 ways that you can make your sucky songs better in just three steps. Hey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I just want to apologize real fast. So today we're going to be talking about how to take your garbage songs and make them better in just 3 simple steps. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that either. Yes, I did. So there are a handful of different ways that we can make our productions more interesting to listen to. The very first thing that we can do is use ear candy. Now, I've talked about this extensively on the channel already before. There's another video that I posted like 2 years ago where I kind of go into this in more depth. But today I'm going to be bringing the receipts, and I want to show you guys a bunch of examples from different songs that I've produced over the years for myself and for other artists. So the first thing you can do is use ear candy. The second thing that you can do is use beat breaks or switch ups or those kinds of things. That helps make the song real fresh, real interesting, and definitely keeps it engaging. All right. The third thing that you can do is add transitions between sections. Now, this is one of those things that a lot of newer artists completely neglect, but it helps tell the whole story of your song and make it feel cohesive from one part of the song to the next. There's a lot of different ways you can add transitions. There's a ton of different things you can do. So let's go ahead and start with ear candy and look at a couple of examples. For this very first song, we're taking a look at a song called Allegiance by an artist named Dustin Starks. He's a friend of mine. He's a super great artist. He makes really cool music. Highly recommend that you check him out. Super dope pop Christian artist. The first thing that we're going to be looking at in this song is vocal ad-libs. Now, vocal ad-libs are used very commonly, especially in like the third chorus of a song. After the listener has already listened to the chorus several times, using ad-libs in the last chorus is something that you can do to make your song feel fresh and make this chorus feel hard-hitting and cool, impactful, blah, 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 even though the listener has already heard it 2 other times. So this is something that you should definitely be putting in your productions if you're not already. So let's take a look at how these sound in this particular song.
These are fixed on you.
All right, so as you can hear here, there is a big wall of vocals. There's a lot of background vocals and harmonies and all those kinds of things, but buried in them as well is an ad-lib that's kind of being panned left to right. Panning is another thing you can use to make your songs more interesting, but regardless, that background vocal or that ad-lib is adding a lot more energy to this song. So let's go ahead and solo that ad-lib really fast so you can hear in more detail what he's doing.
Back to you, where it's coming. Ooh, will I give my allegiance back to you?
Another type of ear candy that you can add to songs is vocal chops. In this particular song, once again, I reintroduced the melody of the chorus in kind of a weird, distorted type of affected way. I'll show you down here in just a moment. But that's definitely one thing you can add to your songs to make them more fascinating.
My allegiance, back to you.
So here you can obviously hear that there is that same chorus vocal, but it's pitched down. There's a ton of like different effects, decapitator, blah, blah, blah. All of those kinds of things on there. And I printed the track and everything to save on processing. But either way, that helps transition into this bridge. It gives it a really cool, fresh perspective of the same vocal that we've already heard a couple of times. And it's really cool. And on top of that, there's also this thing for ear candy as well. So again, that's another vocal chop that's layered on top of that pitched down vocal. And those 2 things together make this section really, really cool, really, really interesting, kind of ethereal, kind of ambient, and definitely is like a different portion of the song, or like a different take on the song before we get to the bridge. So vocal chops, super duper important, or just like weird affected vocals. That works too. All right, now, next I'm looking at a song called Better. This is a song that I put out in 2017, which is like almost 10 years ago, which is absolutely freaking absurd. But it's a song I put out in college, And it's a pop track. Ableton sometimes likes to crash when you're pulling up old projects, so please bear with me. There's some plugins in this session that I literally don't have anymore, so that's fun. By the way, if you haven't already, I highly encourage you, grab a coffee, grab a tea, grab some sort of beverage, and just hang out, because that's what we do in these production breakdown type of videos. By the way, full production of Allegiance coming out soon on my Patreon. If you're not already following me on Patreon, highly encourage that you check it out. I think you'll get a lot of value from it, especially if you're a producer or an artist. It gives you a lot of insight just into like the creative process for songs and that kind of thing. I only have a couple production breakdowns up so far, but I also put out unreleased demos of my own and all those kinds of things. So check out my Patreon for more information, and we'll go into a longer spiel about Patreon at the end of the video. All right, back to it. So another type of ear candy that you can use are things like guitar riffs and that kind of thing. So here's an example of guitar riffs in my song Better that I put out in like 2017. And that is underneath my lead vocal that is singing.
Working out, fighting doubt, still I doubt that I'll be desired. Honestly, I don't think that I'll find the one. And that's just...
So that's kind of an example of like guitar as ear candy. And that's not in verse 1, so that helps make verse 2 feel fresh and interesting and still really cool. So that's another example. Coffee break. By the way, leave in the comments below. Do you like your coffee with a lot of cream? Do you drink it completely black? Let me know. I drink my coffee with cream and sugar. My wife drinks coffee black, so whatever. For those of you who will find this funny, my wife says, I like my coffee like I like my men. And I'm black, and she's white. And I drink coffee with creamer in it. So, you know, I don't know why I'm telling you that, but do with that information what you will. This is a song called From the Grave. It is my song that I'm actually putting out in like 10 days. So, follow me on social media so that you can be informed when the song actually drops. It's a song that I'm pretty proud of. Another type of ear candy that you can use that I put in this song is like conversations, clips of like movies, clips of just, you know, people talking in the background, that kind of thing. Helps break up the sometimes monotony of a song and adds a little bit of interest. So let's take a look at the pre-chorus of the song so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about.
When he rolled back the stone, and I can come before his throne, and boldly can sing.
All right, so in this section, there's a couple of things happening. Obviously, there's like layered ear candy, but one of the things that's in this section of the song for ear candy is this like background ambient people talking type thing.
Can sing, and I can come before his throne, and boldly can sing.
All right, so that's an example of like background conversation type stuff in your song as ear candy. A couple people that come to mind that do this really often are Eden and Jeremy Zucker. Two of my absolute favorites. Both are just like, they make cinematic masterpieces of music. If you don't know them, check out their music. They're super dope. But that's one thing that you can do in your songs to make it interesting. Honestly, with ear candy, the sky is the limit. I've literally used a shovel before and sampled that for ear candy. So there's a lot of things you can do. Like, be as creative as you can here. It'll be more fun for you for one, and it'll make the process of creating a lot more enjoyable. And two, it'll make the final result less boring and really cool. All right, so this is like one of my favorite switch ups / beat breaks that I put in a song so far. This is one thing that we did to make the song really interesting and like make it stand apart. One, there's like a transition using a downer, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a second. And then it actually changes keys and the beat slows down like a ton. So it's like a really cool switch up. So let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. I'm gonna play from a couple seconds before, from like the instrumental right before going into the beat break, and you're gonna hear what I'm talking about. All right, here we go.
Empty plastic bag in howling winds. Wherever you land decides who you will become. You're just an empty plastic bag in howling winds. I said what.
This definitely helps make the song more interesting, is throwing in a super cool switch up and a beat break. Like that kind of stuff really helps sell songs, and just makes them way more fascinating and way more rewarding in the end too. So that's another example. It's another idea that you can use in your own songs to make them just really cool. So you should do that and make your songs less bad, okay? Anyways, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. Yes, I did. The next thing that we can do in our songs to make them more interesting is actually be really intentional with the transitions between our songs. Like I said earlier, transitions help tell the full story of our songs. So, one thing that we can do is use things like risers or downers. Risers are things that sound like so bad. And downers are things that obviously they like kind of descend in pitch. So something like I'll just literally show you examples so that it's less ridiculous. But there's actually an example of a downer in this song too. So let me show you what that sounds like. That's a really cool example of how you can use a downer. All right, so here's an example of like a riser or a swell type thing. This is really simple, but it kind of communicates the same kind of deal that a riser would as well. So check it out. That kind of just helps make this transition from this chorus to the instrumental a little bit more seamless. So let's check it out in context.
Empty plastic bag in Hollywood. Wherever you land decides who you will become.
And then again, right after that is the downer and all that kind of stuff. So let's take a look at another example. This is the first song that I had pulled up a moment ago, Allegiance, one more time. By the way, this song is called Blizzard, the one that we just talked about. It's called Blizzard, and it's on an album that's coming out this year. The artist is Shane. She's super dope, so I'll link to her stuff whenever this is out. But yes, let's go back to our other song. All right, so check it out. In this section of the song, there's a riser followed by a bass drop. A bass drop is another really good example that you can use for transitions in songs. So let's just check out what these sound like, and you'll see for yourself. Another thing that I haven't talked about yet is impacts. Impacts are a huge deal, especially in pop music and also in EDM music. Impacts are these really big thuds that kind of just state, hey, there's a lot of energy in this section of the song, and it's a really cool way to kind of just kick off the next part of the song. Highly recommend you use impacts. In isolation, this is what that impact sounds like, by the way. And just for context, let's play that section with and without the impact so that you kind of hear what I'm talking about. Till my eyes are fixed on you. I found myself. All right, that was with the impact. Let's try it without the impact. Till my eyes are fixed on you. I found myself. It's one of those things that, especially if you have headphones on or like you're in a car or whatever, it makes a really, really big difference. You might not be able to tell it through your phone if that's what you're watching on, but it makes a big difference. So let's try taking out all of those different effects, our riser, our bass drop, and that impact, and see how this transition is a lot weaker. Till my eyes are fixed on you. I found myself. Now let's put that back in. Till my eyes are fixed on you. I found myself. All right, super, super dope. Now, another thing that we can use when we are making transitions from one part of the song to the next is silence. Silence is super underutilized. It actually makes a really, really big difference. Now, what silence does is that it gives the music a moment to just kind of breathe before the next section of the song. And because you have the advantage of using silence before a drop, that makes the drop feel much, much harder hitting when it does come. So let's check it out in this song. Now, in this section of the song, this is transitioning to the chorus. Right before the chorus hits, there's a riser that starts and then stops and cuts for like just a moment before the chorus. And that kind of creates this idea of just silence that helps the chorus to hit a little bit harder. So let's just check it out in context so that you can see what I'm talking about. Fixed on you. So if I had drugged that riser all the way out before the chorus and just let it play all the way to the beginning of the chorus, then this is what it would sound like instead of there being that silence like I mentioned. Check it out. Fixed on you. I found myself. A viable option, but with the advantage of that silence for just a brief moment before the chorus hits. That chorus feels much more impactful when you get there. Another thing that we can use in pop songs or EDM songs, or honestly, whatever you want to put it in if you want to be creative, are builds. Most popularly, these kinds of builds are typically in EDM songs or like EDM pop songs, but let's check out an example of one that I put in this song. It's literally kind of what you would imagine if you think about an EDM song. So let's check it out. All right, let's check out the same build in the context of this part of the song. Till my eyes are fixed on you. So that's a really cool, subtle way that we can add more energy to a song, or honestly, not so subtle, especially in like EDM type of builds and that kind of thing. So we have one more thing to check out. Last but not least, let's look at the song that I produced for an artist called Joy McAllister. It's called God Among Men. Super dope song, very rock inspired, very highly encourage you checking it out if you haven't already heard it. All right, so the last thing that we can look at is drum fills. Now this is not like a crazy technical drum fill or anything like that, but what it does do is that it accomplishes moving us from one part of the song into the bigger part of the song. So let's check it out in isolation, I'll solo it, and then let's check it out in context and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And let's also check that out in the context of the song. So, as you can see, obviously that helps build and transition that energy from the pre-chorus of the song into the chorus of this song. So that's another idea of what you can do in your songs to help transition between sections. Don't neglect this part of your song. I highly encourage you to not. So friends, thank you so much for being here. And honestly, dude, if you stayed this long in the video, like you're a legend and I'm extremely grateful for you. So those are a couple ways that you can make your songs more interesting. Now, if you enjoyed this and you want to follow up with me when I'm not posting on YouTube, just throughout the weeks and such, you can follow me on Instagram at iosoundstudio. And if you want to support me more directly, then you can join the community over at Patreon. On Patreon, there are several tiers. There's a free tier if you don't want to pay for anything. It's totally fine, totally understandable. There you get 3 to 5 days of early access to all of my YouTube videos before I post them. And there's also leaks of the verses of songs that I am personally putting out underneath my artist project, which is I/O. And you get those previews before any of my songs are on any of the digital streaming platforms. There's also a $3 tier in which you get a 2-week preview into any and all of my songs before they come out on digital streaming platforms. Also, I kind of just turn on the camera and like we can hang out while I'm working on this song. And also I share lyric sheets and those kinds of things on this tier as well. Lyric sheets of the songs that I'm personally working on before they're really out there. The next tier up is the $10 tier. Here are my raw demos and all that kind of thing before like mixing, mastering, while they're still super vulnerable and super honest. Also, I'm gonna start posting monthly live streams and session and lyric breakdowns and things like that once a month if you wanna join me for those. You can also check out the works in progress that I have. I'm literally like always working on music for my artist project between working on client stuff. So you can kind of check in and tune in for those things too. Also priority Q&A if I do any Q&As here on YouTube or over on Instagram or Discord or anything like that, then anyone in this tier gets priority access or priority answering for those Q&As. And of course, in this tier, there's also an exclusive Discord chat. So super cool. If you're interested in that, let me know. And in the very highest tier, this is $25 a month, you can get access to things like your names and the credits of the songs that I put out for your creative contribution. You can get your name in videos that I post on YouTube. You can get personalized thank you notes, signed merch, that kind of stuff. So I think it's a lot of value. I think it's a lot of fun. And if you're interested in things like that and kind of even being a part of my own music, you can check out all those things on Patreon. And not just my music, but also full production breakdowns of songs that I produce for clients as well. If you're just trying to kind of learn and grow as a producer yourself or an artist, this is super beneficial for you guys too. So anyways, thank you guys so much for being here. Seriously, I appreciate you. And I'll see you again very soon with a new video. Peace out.